Well, one of the things I had to do this morning was I had used this material called duct seal, and I had put it inside the openings for the plunger switch, as well as for the locker actuator plug on top of the housing, so that when Nate was doing the welding, nothing would get into the axle housing. And it did do that job, but it also kind of melted a little bit, and some of it got into threads. So I had to use some pipe threader and go through the threads and clean it all out nice, use some contact cleaner, and just got everything nice and clean. So the next step I'm going to do is basically put some sealant on the threads of the plunger switch, and then thread that in to place, get it nice and snug. And then there's a couple plastic Christmas trees that go down into some holes in the axle housing, on the side of the axle housing. So I want to get that switch installed today. Another look at the plunger switch for the Rubicon locker. So this will thread into the side of the axle housing. Had to remove it because of the truss install. You can see the type of plug that it is. And when this thing gets inserted in there in the end, see those two holes in the housing? These little prongs right here will snap into there and hold it in place. And then basically all this is an open switch. This plunger moves up and down, and it rides on a plate on the locker. So when the locker gets engaged, this gets pulled out like that, and then that's what gives you your padlock symbol inside your Jeep. And then when it disengages, the plunger switch comes down, and the padlock switch goes away. The OEM replacement, I found it on the internet, if this went bad, for about $130. The trick on the install, of course, is you have to use a match. I've shown this on another video, and you pull this out with a little piece of wooden match in there attached to a fishing line. And then after the carrier slides into place in there, the plunger will be back there with the match holding it out to the left of the screen. Then the plate goes in there. Then you pull the fishing line and the matchstick comes out, and this plunger goes to my right and rides on the plate. It's a pretty foolproof method to do it. It works really well. So I'm going to put some sealant on these threads. I cleaned them up with a wire brush. I got the threads very, very clean right there for where this threads in. You can see that. And we'll get that installed. And then I'm going to put a continuity tester on the wires and move the plunger in and out and just make sure that the contact is opening and closing. So in regards to this plunger switch, I put some Teflon on it as well as some pipe sealant. So I'm just going to work this in real easy. You can see it's going well. Nothing is interfering. Nothing is interfering with the truss that was installed. And just carefully keep working. You know, the harness has kind of a bend to it. Basically because of how it sits into place. See the curve that it has? So I'm just very conscious about when I tighten this up, just making sure no extra tension gets on those wires. So I'll just keep working that in and get this thing all snug down. All right, snugged it up. You can see the sealant has worked its way around the thread. Now I'll be taking this, you can see it has a bend, and the two little Christmas trees will go down right in there inside the axle housing. Okay, there you have it installed. You can see how that sits. You can see how the plastic little clips go through the housing. I'm really happy with that. And we'll come around here, and you can see how the plunger comes right out there. So once again, this plunger moves in and out, riding on the locker ring. Good look at it. Sitting here in the dump truck with Cooter. Come over to do a little automotive work, but first we got to move some sand. Look at this old rig. What year is this?
It's a 99.
This is 1999. Looks like it's 1959 in here.
Come on.
Oh man.
Needs a bath, but it's all right.
Woo! Big rig.
99 Freightliner.
99 Freightliner. Big tri-axle, right?
Yep. Tri-axle. Caterpillar motor.
Woo!
8-speed transmission.
Yeah.
Pretty routine.
Feels like I'm sitting about 15 feet in the air in this thing.
Yeah, you don't get an air seat over there, so we didn't pay for that option.
All right, little sand action here. Mike got the dump truck here. Now he's going to fill that up with some sand, and we're going to haul it to another area across town. You never know what's going on at Cooter's Garage. This morning we took a little time to set up the front axle for Recon 1 down at Cooter's Garage. You can see all the various tools and parts labeled. Vanna White. No, oh, wait a minute, that's not Vanna, that's Cooter.
Cooter White. White
Cooter White.
Or White Cooter.
White Cooter, not bad. So we're just doing some setup. If everything goes well today, we'll have this axle completely all installed with axle shafts, unit bearings, seals, outer seals, etc., etc. So we're in good shape. We're just doing a little prep work, okay?
Is that a Data 44 knuckle? Oh, I'm sorry. That's my kid's quad knuckle.
So we got quad knuckle, Dana 44 knuckle. Go grab the big boy. This is an awful comparison. I come over here feeling pretty good.
Get your hand with this thing. It's pretty heavy.
And there's the 1-ton big boy knuckle right there. Man, what a difference.
Kind of makes you feel different about yourself,
Makes me feel pretty bad about myself. 1-ton, Dana 44, frickin' quad knuckle.
A lot of knuckles going around.
All right. We've decided to go with the Spicer 1-piece seal. I did have the Mopar 2-piece. And Mike has a methodology that he uses here where he puts a lot of grease inside the seal already to start with. He finds it holds the spring in better. And then we're going to put some silicone on the outside, and we're going to use our Yukon tool, which is pretty cut and dry. It fits right in there, and press each seal in. Anything you want to add to that, Mike?
There's a little grease in there, like Rick said.
Yep.
Just I find it holds that garter spring in there, and it'll give it a little lubricant once the axle goes in. Just as a little extra assurance.
Little silicone on the outside.
Just a little bit.
Which, talking to a lot of different people now, that was one big difference, that the Spicer seals just came bare on the outside, and the newer Mopar 2-piece seal had a orange tacky strip on there, which basically does the same thing that the silicone does.
Yeah, we don't need to load it up.
Yeah.
I mean, the pressure of that should seal it anyway, but a little bit can't hurt, right? Obviously, we're going to put that in with the axle side the right direction.
Yep.
Theoretically, you could probably do it the other way. Important to get that thing started square in there. I like to get the seal square. 2 seconds.
All right, so there's a good look. Again, this is the Yukon seal insert tool for a Dana 44, and basically just getting things lined up. It's a really nice tool, and
mine is the same way. You got to run this nut. You got to like really crank this nut out to get the thing in and out of there. All right, so the seal is in seated. I'm holding that up there with my right hand and just snugging this nut up. We don't want that seal to go in crooked. It looks good. I don't know if you want to get in there, if you can see. The seal's in there. It's not started in the bore yet. It's just right there at the edge.
Right there resting, yeah. Okay.
If you get that thing cockeyed just a little bit, we wrecked one on that other Dana 60 yesterday. You don't really...
Really, yeah?
You can't see it.
Yeah.
With my installer and this one, you could see it. Yeah, the seal went in crooked.
I can put some weight on the front. All right, Mike says it's going in nice and smooth. He's happy with it being square. You can just see how this tool works. It's really good. It's just forcing in a nice level square way the seal to be seated properly.
So we're about, we're almost flush with the end of the tube.
Yeah, I think you'll just feel it kind of, the resistance increase and kind of.
It's smooth and consistent right
smooth
now.
and
It's all in the
consistent.
bore.
Yeah.
So I'm just marking it
Yeah.
with my thumbnail, and I'm going
Yeah.
about another 1/8 of an inch.
And I found when I did it last time that it was going nice and easy, and all of a sudden you just feel the resistance on the nut, and kind of went by feel that, yeah, I think it's seated good, and it just all of a sudden gets kind of hard.
Yeah, there's no stop in there, so.
Still feels the same resistance.
Yep.
How far in you think it is? Because it should just kind of bottom out. Isn't there a gradual taper on it?
No.
I thought there was a taper on it.
No.
No?
No, there's nothing in there. Let's pop this out.
Okay.
And just take a look.
Yep. All right, so basically the seal is in, and what you'll notice, you've got this space here, and then about 1/4 of an inch you see in the axle tube before it's fully seated and the nut just stops turning. So we're on our second seal, the passenger seal, same thing. Get it all lined up, grease inside the seal.
You feel the pressure, and then once it's in the bore, it smooths right out.
Right out, yeah.
So he's got, so now he's on cruise control. It's nice and smooth, and then that thing will go basically until that nut
Is
doesn't
that a
turn.
miniature pinion?
Oh man.
What is that thing? That's not even right, is it?
You know,
The
Is
guy
that the
brought
right side?
tequila. Don't hit him with this wrench.
picking on my pinion gear, this little puny Dana 44 on all the big boys.
She's a good axle.
It's a $6 million axle. We rebuilt it. We made her stronger and better.
Right, that's it.
This truss came out beautiful.
Oh, I was very pleased with it.
Look at it.
All right, basically, the RCV outer tube seals, this time around I just have a light coat of grease on them. Last time I used silicone, and quite honestly I regretted it because I had a real hard time knocking them out. You can see this one seated all the way. You want to be conscious of the little Zerk fitting here so that you locate it in an area where you can sneak behind the knuckle and actually get the grease in there. So that one's seated, and basically just doing it with a tiny rubber mallet, hitting it across here until it seats all the way. Pretty easy job. Okay, I've shown this on other videos, but some may not have seen it, but this really is the best way to take a match, basically pull the plunger out to where it's out all the way, and you set the match in there, and there's fishing line on here, okay? The fishing line's gonna hang right out the differential, and I'll just kind of lay that back in out of the way, and then that way, when the locker goes in, and I put the bearing caps on, and everything's in its nice position, then I just pull this fish line, the match comes out, and then the plunger lands on the ring. You'll remember on the locker, there's a ring that moves over towards the center of the vehicle when it's locked, and then when the solenoid releases, it presses back. There's a spring in there that actually pushes the plate back. So that's what's going on right now, pretty easy. Good look at the outer seals, no problem. Pressed in there nice. Inner seals all gooped up, seated all the way, and there was a bevel inside there. So basically they press in until they don't press in. They hit a little beveled stopper, so you know you're seated all the way. And a look at the passenger side outer axle tube seal, and of course paying attention to the orientation of the Zerk fitting so I can get in there and grease these things from time to time. All right, I think it's time for a cigar. All right.
Boy, you ain't shitting.
Yeah, Dwayne just put the
Oh, so
the
you
locker
feed it
in
up,
there, right.
plug it in, then put it
And then
down in
drop it
place.
down. So,
Got ya.
you know, they only give you about 3 inches of wire for the solenoid. So the key thing is that little notch gets to get in there. That places the solenoid where it needs
That's
to
where
be.
it needs to be, right?
Yeah, when it tightens down, it kind of goes in there more. This is just all hand tight.
Right, it'll draw it in.
And then here's the plate. If you look carefully, you can see a thin plate right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That's the plate that slides over. See that 1/4 inch gap?
yeah.
It slides over to the left.
And that locks
That's why on the trail, the solenoid sends it this way and it
Right.
locks it. And that's why on the trail, if it doesn't release, you sometimes open the fill plug, take a screwdriver and pry it back over. So it's just kind of hand tight. We're gonna maybe put the socket to it a little bit and then work that wire up to into the actuator plug. And then pull the fishing line and try to get in there and make sure that the ring is behind the plunger.
A lot then. Holy shit,
yeah.
we got
Oh, yeah.
nothing
Yeah,
here.
you got nothing here. You guys have nothing here. So you can see the wire has been
Yeah.
worked from the solenoid through. This will plug into the new actuator plug.
And then you just kind of push it back
Push
in
it
there.
back down gently, and then it seats here. I think this is an 8mm nut.
Right.
Maybe we'll put a little silicone around the gasket or a little oil that comes with a gasket and drop that in place. Basically, this is all pretty cut and dry. Usually there's markings here. There's a Y. I think this means, see, Mike? So there's like a Y here, and then you see a little notch here on this side, just confirming my orientation.
Yeah,
but you can see
right
the
here.
curve. You can't really get this wrong, right,
You
Mike?
can see an upright Y.
Yeah.
And if you look here, there's an upright Y.
All right, and then
is that how
here
they
it's
do it?
horizontal.
Is it
And
horizontal?
look at right here. Look at see the Y how it opens like my fingers are on the side.
Yeah.
And then right next to this letter right here, you see the same thing. It goes
Should
like
open
that.
is it in the same direction?
Yes, it is.
The one on the left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
right.
doesn't matter the Y is
Gotcha.
there.
Okay, so Mike's put the torque wrench on it on the bearings, on the caps for the bearings, and we're crisscrossing the 40 foot-pounds, and then this being a Dana 44 Rubicon axle, the torque spec is 80. So after we get to 40, we'll go to 80. Pretty cut and dry.
I hate to tell you, we didn't stop at 40. We did 90 crisscross. You're all good.
Well, whatever. That's it. We're done. That's
there.
just like that. Now, what's interesting is notice this piece of metal here, and this happens. It actually kind of deforms when you tighten it, and then when you untighten it, it kind of goes back the other way. It's kind of interesting, but it just keeps
this
this thing
whole arc here,
keeps
I
this
guess,
thing
and
right.
it
It keeps this
flattens
thing
out.
from moving back and forth, or else it would spin. So we're actually going to put 12 volts on this locker, and we should see this plate right here move over as it receives voltage. And then we're going to put a continuity tester on the plunger switch and make sure that that is closing as well. That'll just confirm that everything works when I plug it back into the Jeep.
So is this some kind of
That's the
magnetic
coil.
thing?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
I used to know the spec. So we want to show everyone this. What you have here is a continuity tester hooked up into the plunger switch. The plunger switch is normally open. When the locker gets engaged, it closes, and then you would hear the meter. You got continuity, and we've got the tone set up. So what Dwayne and Mike are doing is they're hitting the actuator plug with 12 volts. It has pushed the locker solenoid over. I'm going to come around. So now it's saying my padlock should be solid. You just lost it.
Yeah, I undid it.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here. Hear that tone? That's good. Watch the ring. Do it on and off a couple times. So there's no locker. There's the locker. Hear the tone? That puts your padlock solid. So at first this didn't work right. We just had to boost our voltage to plus 12 volts or 13, and now it's working every single time. And this is a big test to do because the last thing in the world you want to do is go through all of this and not have your plunger switch work right. So we're really happy that everything is working right.
You can see get a good shot of that plunger switch down in there.
Let me zoom in.
I'm going to actuate it.
And there it is right there. Yeah, go ahead. I got it. Yeah.
I gotta
Take your
get
time.
up. I gotta get up.
Something's in my way.
You good?
Right there, I got it. Yep. Boom. Off, on. Perfect. Got good footage on that. Thank you, Dwayne. So Dwayne has the plug, and I'm zooming in right there on the connector. So push that thing right in. You just heard the click. It's in. And that's what you try to unplug when you want to remove this. Now, you literally, look at, I want everyone to see.
You got
this
no
is
way.
what you have. To try to get a pick tool in, and if you see that little notch, the key is to lift it outboard a little bit, up, and at the same time pull out. So we'll put a little.
It's a good firm snap
It's
too.
a good,
so
well, it
it's-
has to
yeah,
be. I
you're
mean,
right.
so Mike's greasing that a little bit, and we're going to drop that in and put this. I think it's a 6 or 8 millimeter bolt, and the actuator plug will be installed. And that's another thing, you have to be careful not to break the plastic tab. It's really, and that and I highly recommend. The one time I didn't use OEM, it died on me on the trail, and I had to replace it with OEM. So this is $44. I think I bought it at Morris 4x4 down in Florida. And there it is. So we got a brand new, this is called a locker actuator plug. It's all set. We'll just put the bolt in and tighten it up.
Sit out. Yeah, nice guy.
All right, Mike's just torquing that down till it's snug. He's got some grease on it. And there it is, right there. Actuator plug done, plunger switch done. That's really good. The next thing here that we can think about is we'll put the cover on, we'll torque the cover. We run a lube blocker gasket. That's always interesting. This is a 5/16/18 thread in this housing. I'm gonna take some brake cleaner and just kind of shoot it into all these bolt holes, and then I'm gonna use red Loctite instead of blue, because I find that the diff cover takes such a beating. I'm constantly retightening these things.